r/Ask Reddit. What effects from COVID-19 and its pandemic are we still dealing with, even if everyday people don't necessarily realize it? I'm not sure if anyone else feels the same way, but my perception of time hasn't really returned back to normal since then. A lot after around March 2020 is a weird blur to me. Meanwhile, anything that happened in 2019 to 2020 feels very recent, even though it's been nearly 5 years at this point. It is a collective trauma that we lived through, and our minds are trying desperately to shield us from the memory. I also had this problem in 2004 after coming home from Iraq. I forgot a lot of my deployment, and my life seemed to skip that year. And then in 2015, my brain was like, "You're safe to deal with this now. Here are all the memories I've been protecting you from. I expect this to happen sometime in the future for COVID now." Lots of places cut their hours and then never re-expanded them after lockdowns ended. 24 HR Walmarts. This one hurts the worst as a night owl that loves late-night shopping. I've noticed a dramatic decrease in the general quality of goods and products, even if prices have dramatically risen. Back when supply chains were an issue or trade was disrupted by COVID restrictions, I could understand. But now it looks like this will be a permanent thing, which sucks. Prices have gone up. Okay, fine. That's gonna happen over time. But the quality of everything keeps getting worse, and people are just expected to accept it. People have forgotten how to act in public. Concert etiquette, for example, has gone downhill. I've noticed a lot more people, of all ages, sitting in a public place, watching videos on their phone at full volume with no headphones. I think people just got so used to being stuck in their houses and have lost their sense of community. It's not like they're deliberately trying to annoy other people. I just think they've just almost lost the ability to empathize that other people are there who maybe aren't particularly interested in hearing the "Oh no, oh no" song from the Instagram video that they are watching 7 times in a row. I have also noticed that if you calmly and gently, Siri gently, ask them to stop and explain the situation, they will immediately threaten to throw fists. Learning loss in kids. Many parents' kids saw it as a 2-year vacation. Now states don't want to spend the money to bridge that gap. Inflation for rent and real estate almost doubled and hasn't even decreased. Cost of food, groceries, ingredients, etc. used to spend $275, $300 a month. Now even spend at discount grocery, it's more like $500 plus. I was fostering a kid right before COVID hit. They were severely behind where they should have been. They ended up reuniting with family not long after we got them. But considering how little support they were getting at home before lockdown, I can only imagine how bad it got during and after. Really sad. Kid was really sharp, and when they sat down and tried, they picked things up really quickly, especially language-related things, everything from reading, seriously behind grade level, to Spanish. Give it 20 years, and there will be huge worker shortages in fields requiring higher levels of learning. I'm honestly really worried about what it means for medical and STEM fields. A lot of small, local festivals, conventions, and markets shut down. Couldn't have events for 2 years. So some places lost their venues, or couldn't keep their budgets afloat, or lost volunteers and committee leaders. It especially sucks for niche communities that used to get together. There were a couple of races that happened here every year. They got cancelled for COVID and never returned. The organizers are just gone now, I guess. We did have a marathon that ran on a SAT, but that doesn't exist anymore. And we had a New Year's Day half, which was a ton of fun, but it's gone now as well. The hospital I work in instituted a hiring freeze when the lockdowns hit. At the same time, maybe 25% of my department rapid-fire quit or retired for several reasons. Today, half of the vacant positions either remain vacant or were eliminated entirely, and our workload went back to pre-COVID numbers, maybe 2 years ago. We're tired, boss. The lab is only holding together through black humor and the knowledge of how much the patients need our results. I recently had lab work done. I remember saying to myself how grateful I was for all the lab workers involved. We really do appreciate you. Your work is critical. I hope your work environment improves. They realized how much profit they're getting by overworking fewer employees instead of being fully staffed. You'd think hospitals would be the one place that wants to stay staffed, but the bean counters pull the strings. Thank you for this. I can't imagine the exhaustion and mental stress this puts on a person in a regular job. But when so much is riding on your work, the literal health and wellness of another person, it's just too much. So thank you for continuing on and helping patients, and in a way rarely considered, seen or discussed. Next time I have the opportunity, a toast to you all. There's been a noticeable decline in quality from a number of places. One thing I can bring to mind is Steak N Shake. Before COVID, they operated as a sit-down restaurant where they'd seat you, take your order, and serve your food to your table. And it was like the only restaurant like that where you could eat for under $10. The food was very delicious, the burgers juicy and fries hot and fresh, and they were served on a plate. Now, however, it's worse than McDonald's. No human cashiers. You order at a kiosk, get your own drinks, pick a table to sit at, and wait 40 minutes to go pick up your food. And the burger tastes like it was microwaved, and the fries cold and stale tasting. Just before COVID, a bunch of the local Steak N Shakes were fighting to stay operational. So it's not just COVID. The food was so cheap and open hours so wide, I'm not surprised things had to change. The closest location was pretty openly working their waitstaff to the bone for rock-bottom pay and a completely erratic work schedule. I don't mind the automation to it, but like most fast food, I think the prices have gotten too high for what you get. I noticed something changed with my college students. Many of them spent nearly 2 years isolated as teenagers. Can't define it, and I think they will eventually define it in a way I can't. It affected socializing in a profound way. My brother's high school experience was destroyed. It changed his defining years so dramatically, and yet it forced me at 23 to stop partying, get depression meds, and get my crap together. Got with my wife and started working on life. It cut short my fun years and did the same to many of my friends, but it forced me to jumpstart building a meaningful life. There were so many negative and positive ramifications on people's lives, in probably many yet unseen ways. I'm also a professor. There were already a lot of negative trends, which I would attribute to social media addiction, helicopter parenting, and the pressure on K-12 schools to abandon standards, students not socializing or communicating, decreased academic skills, increased learned helplessness and anxiety, a weird sense of entitlement somehow coupled with low self-worth. COVID accelerated it all, and I honestly think generative AI is going to destroy any vestiges of intellectual curiosity or critical thinking skills left. Education. I taught before, during, and after, still do, COVID. The kids do not have the social skills or even classroom skills needed to maintain or learn simple rules. We have labeled students coming into kindergarten and under as COVID babies. It has been amazing and frustrating to see the difference from before to now. There are many skills that the students lack because of the shutdown and the major shift of coming back to school with restrictions. We will see this for years to come, and I fear it will not get better. My kid started kindergarten in 2020. A majority of his kindergarten year was online. Talking with his teacher this past year, she'd been a teacher for probably 20 years, and before going over testing results and whatnot, made sure to mention at the very start that his class is the COVID baby class, and they're still trying to play catch-up to get to where his class should be. But every single student is struggling with the social aspects of school, as well as the fundamentals of how school works learned in kindergarten. That it's a very drastic difference between the kids who had a full year of in-classroom kindergarten / 1 cent grade and kids who had it online. She worked so hard to get his class caught up. She's an amazing teacher, and I'm so glad he was in her class. Oh, You've made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content. Bruh, it's free, and that's a great price.